Well, hello and welcome. I'm Scott Hayes at Rimini Street, and I'm joined today by my colleague Luiz Mariotto. He's the Group Vice President and Principal Product Manager for SAP. Now, our topic today is aimed at organizations that are considering RISE with SAP and the three options that they should explore before making that decision. So let's get right to it. Luiz, why don't we start with what is RISE with SAP?
Thanks, Scott. Hello, everyone. In fact, for SAP clients, RISE or not RISE is a complex question. SAP positions RISE as a one offering, one contract, a bundle of S/4HANA software, cloud infrastructure, and additional cloud services as Ariba, Signavio, BTP in a single subscription agreement provided and technically operated by SAP. But if you're currently running ECC, RISE is not the first decision point. The key decision point is about the S/4HANA migration strategy. Since S/4HANA is a prerequisite for RISE, you need to access the business case because this is an expensive and risky migration project. You need to decide about brownfield, greenfield, and ensure it meets the company's business transformation strategy. Now, if you have decided to do the S/4HANA migration, or if your company is already running S/4HANA, then the RISE with SAP decision will need to consider some other aspects. First, which is the right S/4HANA deployment options for you, depending on your customization and flexibility needs? The private cloud, the public cloud, or the on-prem? Second, does it make sense to bundle S/4HANA software license plus infrastructure and managed services into one single lock-in agreement? What happens if you need to change the vendor for each category in the future? And last but not least, can you really address all your business needs with a single vendor approach? The good news is you have alternatives to RISE to reduce costs and accelerate innovation. And we are going to talk more about your options today.
Yeah, some very important things to think about for sure. What to date has been the uptake by the customer base on RISE with SAP?
Well, that's a very good point. According to a recent research from Gartner, nearly 70% of ECC or Business Suite clients have not purchased S/4HANA license yet. In fact, 60% of the S/4HANA clients are net new, and most of them are stuck with perpetual license and on-premises deployments. The reality, Scott, is that the jury is still out on the ROI for migration of S/4HANA and RISE.
That's great, Luiz, because that's exactly where we want to go with this short video. But before we do that, I mean, let's talk about the options. Here's what we know. Mainstream support for ECC 6 and Business Suite 7 are scheduled to end in 2027. And that extended support, which would be available through 2030, will incur some additional added fees. So that's kind of a stick. But the carrot is a little bit harder to define. Now, obviously, convincing clients to sign RISE with SAP agreements is good for SAP, but what's in it for SAP customers?
Well, as you mentioned, SAP is pushing very hard to RISE, right? But the question that customers should ask themselves is, what is needed in terms of technology? What is needed in terms of functionality from RISE? You need a detailed, business-driven ROI analysis, right? And that is the key driver for your decision.
Exactly, right. A business case. That's why we call it a business case. And we know that it's good for executives to know their options, right? To give them some alternatives. RISE shouldn't necessarily be a foregone conclusion. So what I'd like you to do is walk us through the three alternatives that SAP customers should consider.
Yes. So, of course, we understand that for some clients, right, RISE could be a perfect fit. But if they do this decision based on the business case, on the ROI analysis, is even better. But as we discussed before, we have alternatives, right? Thousands of SAP ERP clients have invested a lot developing and customizing their ERP system to individual business requirements. And these clients cannot just afford the cost and the risk of a system migration that can disrupt the business. What we see is that many of these clients, they will prefer to maximize their SAP investments and innovating faster around the core ERP edges, adopting modern cloud platforms, low-code tools, and packaged cloud applications, SAP or maybe non-SAP, using what we call the composable ERP approach. The second option are for those clients that strategically decide to move the IT workloads to the cloud, adopting one or more hyperscale providers like Microsoft, AWS, and Google. These clients, they can lift and shift their current ECC and S/4HANA system to the cloud, and not only leveraging the scalability and flexibility they have in the cloud, but also take advantage of their modern cloud platform technologies like low-code development, artificial intelligence, RPA, big data analytics. They can develop new applications and accelerate innovation on top of their SAP system using these technologies.
Yeah, now, before we get to the third option, I want to call out that these first two options, with those first two options, the client retains their perpetual licenses for SAP, right? Licenses that they already paid for and have likely fully depreciated by now. Okay, that's the first two options. Let's go into that third option. It's a little bit different.
Yes, exactly. So we believe keeping your license as an asset will give you more flexibility and control because you can move, right, your software to any cloud provider. But the third option is if for any reason you agree to convert your perpetual license to subscription, right, with SAP, maybe you have a license negotiation in place that make sense for you, but you don't believe that bundling this software license together with infrastructure and services in a single contract would be the best strategy for long term, then make sure you keep the infrastructure and services separated from the license, right? So you can keep your contract at your own terms directly with the hyperscales. So you don't need to tie it all together with SAP. So we know that SAP is pushing for RISE. They are trying to convince the clients to sign a RISE, but I see many big clients that they prefer to keep the infrastructure separate with the hyperscale provider, even if they decided to move to S/4HANA on the subscription license model. We believe this will help the clients, right, to take control of their roadmap and options in the future.
Yeah, exactly. So these are all great options. Thank you, Luis. But it is situational for each business. And we know that there can be significant cost differences between these different approaches and doing a RISE migration to S/4HANA. So can you quickly share an example of one of those comparisons?
Sure, Scott. We built a model for comparing, right, the initial and ongoing costs for these different roadmap options. So the clients can make decisions based on the information, right, based on the data. So we are happy to create a customized comparison for any client on request. Here is an example that compares three different paths: stay on ECC longer, right, and innovation around the core ECC, compared to moving to S/4HANA on-prem, right, following the SAP release strategy for S/4HANA. And the third scenario here is S/4HANA RISE. You can see the difference of the cost can be remarkable, which is why we want to help clients weight their costs.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Luis. This is great. I appreciate you getting this information across so succinctly. And to complete that offer, there's a URL on the screen where viewers can request their own customized cost comparison. And as we said in the beginning, it's all about knowing the options and choosing the smart path for your business. So thanks for joining us, and make it a great day.